Okay, so other ways that I teach footwork, there's different ways. One of the other easiest ways is that as I'm walking, I'll just stop. From there, I'll jump up 3 times. 1, 2, 3, and then my body naturally sets in. Other ways that we can have it, usually if we have somebody that's brand new, to make it much easier, is that if I'm right-handed, this is the 4 boxes, you got 1, 2, 3, and 4. First box, I go ahead and put my feet right there, the toes are pointing straight forward, and then with that rear foot, it's gonna be on that 4th box, and I just have it at a 45-degree angle. Now, you can see that my weight distribution is a little bit off, so that's the reason that I always have people jump up 3 times. When you jump up 3 times, notice what's happening as you guys are jumping up 3 times, now you can see that I can be offensive, I can be defensive. So that's how you kind of check your stance. Now, I always like to work from the bottom up, so if we're talking about, here's my stance, I'm gonna go ahead and think about my knees. My knees aren't gonna be down too far. Now, if you have guys that are competing in MMA or anything else like that, their stance is gonna be a little bit wider because they're gonna have to level change. But for Thai boxing, you wanna stand up tall. So if I was your height, I'd be beating up everybody. God, okay? So right over here, I'm gonna keep my body tall. It's just gonna be a slight bend in my knees. And as I have that slight bend in the knees, it's gonna be easy for me to move. From here, I got the hips. I go up to the next thing is gonna be the hips. Now, if you look at me on the side, if I put both my hands out, my hips are straight forward, 1 and 2. You can see that which is my jab, which is my cross. We don't know. So the way that we adjust that is that rear foot right over here. Notice what happens if my toes are forward. Watch what happens as I turn my rear foot. Look what happens. Now I have a power hand, and people wonder why this is the power hand, is that you're able to have more rotation. Does that make sense? For you to kind of get the power. From here, my stomach is going to be tight. So I can tighten up my body, and imagine that somebody's going to be hitting me all the time, and that lead shoulder is going to be above my heel. So if I had a stick that's going from my heel all the way to my shoulder, it should be lined up. And then I adjust that rear foot the way that I need to have it, and the body's going to be concave. Now the reason that the body's concave, so if I'm in my stance, guess what happens? If somebody decides to kick, I just move my lead foot forward, and then I can go ahead and then counter back right away. So that's one thing that you want to understand. Do you guys know to roll your hands? Hand position, it's going to be between my jaw and then my eyes. So right over here where I have my hands. The way that I want to turn my hands out, if I had a knife, okay, it's not going to be, knives are going to be sticking straight up this way. It's going to be a little bit, see what happens with my elbow. My elbow is right here to protect me, so if somebody decides to kick, I just bring that up and look what happens. Boom, shin to shin. Yeah, so right over here, thank you. So you're not going to be like, do you hold knives like this? No. No. It's going to be out to the side because look what's happening. You got the elbows that are going to go ahead and slice. And where did Muay Thai come from?
Point red. You know this.
Right. So you have, imagine if we have the swords right over here, they have their motion, their what's called their hand positioning. It's going to be a lot different as they're basically setting themselves up. So that's old school. But the difference with Muay Thai, they had a different stance. They were a lot lower. So what happens is that they eventually codified Muay Thai to make it more of a sport. So think about like the hands, like if I had knives, I'm gonna have my nail so I can go ahead and slice whatever I need to do. Thank you. Chin, I always tell people chin back, not chin down. Not chin back, or chin back, not chin down, because look what happens. I'm over here, my stance. If I do chin down, look what happens to the top portion of my head. It drops. So this is going to be easy for somebody to go ahead and lock up in that clinch. So I want to make sure that my chin is back so I can keep my eyes on. Eyes, where should I be looking? Center mass, exactly. And why are you looking center mass? Yeah, so we got the 4 points of contact right over here, okay? So that's what you should be focusing on. When you guys are shadowboxing, a lot of you guys are looking straight down. So you should be choosing a spot on the wall where your head is going to be up, and then imagine that somebody's in front of you as you guys are moving, okay? So that's what I want you guys to kind of focus on. Anytime that you're doing any type of pad drill, kicks, punches, whatever, always go back into your stance. Other ways, if you're thinking about it when you're training at home, a piece of tape right over here, I can just work my movement, step in, boom, I hit, and then I should land back into my stance. I go back into my stance every single time. When I'm moving forward, if I'm taking 2 inches with my front foot to go forward, how many do I take with the rear? 2, exactly. Yep, so I'm basically taking the same amount forward. Now, as I'm moving forward, I want to make sure that the head is not bobbing all over the place. Because what you'll see is that guys will start to drop their head. What does that show me? You guys know the answer, so yeah, stop. Yeah, so the front foot basically shows that you're basically switching your weight into your front leg. So you want to make sure that your head is at one level, at one plane, as you guys are going forward, backwards. If I'm going forward, I should be keeping my head at the same level. If I'm going back, I take 2 inches with the back foot. What do I take with the front foot? Yeah, about 2 inches. There you go. Back, yeah, 2 inches. Yeah, it was a math equation. Yeah. Is this your guys? Yeah. So right over here. So basically, do forward. I'm going back right over here. Now, as I'm going to go ahead and go sideways, okay, a lot of problems that we'll see with a lot of students is that they start to cross their feet. So I just have this line so that you guys can see it. I'm in my stance. If I'm going to go ahead and step with to my right, what foot am I taking a step with? Right foot, yes. And then again, if I'm taking 2 inches, 2 inches, same exact thing. If I'm going to the left, back and forth. But guess what happens when somebody's punching you in the face or kicking you? What do people end up doing? They start to move a lot faster, and what you'll see is that that front foot might cross over that rear foot. This is the time to punch somebody or to kick their leg. Does that make sense? And I know that you guys got it because you got a good instructor that teaches you all the fundamentals, but this just gives you a different, I'll say a different viewpoint, but somebody else telling you the same damn thing. Okay? So as you guys are working this, I'm always going to be focusing on the footwork first. The drills will come with time. It takes 500 to 5,000 repetitions to actually learn a technique. Does that mean you can apply it? No. So you always heard about that 10,000 hour rule? So before I start class or when I work with the workshop or people, 10,000 hours, that means that you're training 3 hours a day for the next 10 years. So if you think you're going to come over here and then fight in the UFC after 2 or 3 months, you're not, unless you're playing a video game. Okay, does that make sense? But it just takes time. So I always tell people, don't get frustrated. You know, we'll laugh at you, we'll have a good time, and then we'll move on.